This is a continuation of our discussion with local taxation. So now we go to assessment appeals. Yan. So, diba, we said in the earlier video that all appeals, no, should be addressed to or to be appealed to the local board of assessment appeals. So, what is the powers or duties and functions of the LBAA? No? The Board of Assessment Appeals of the province or city shall be composed of the Register of Deeds, Registrar of Deeds, yan yung chairman, yung provincial or city prosecutor, and the provincial or city engineer as a member, so shall serve as such in an ex officio capacity without additional compensation. The chairman of the board shall have the power to designate any employee of the province or city to serve as a secretary to the board, also without additional compensation. Yan, chairman of and members of the board of assessment appeals shall assume their respective positions without need of further appointment. Ano pa ba dito yung importante? Ito, sa letter D, in provinces and cities without a provincial or city engineer, the district engineer shall serve as the member of the board. In the absence of the registrar of deeds or the provincial or city prosecutor or the provincial city engineer or the district engineer, the persons performing their duties. So whether in acting as such, yung mga tinatawag na ano ba tawag kayo, persons in charge o mga OIC or officer in charge, something like that. So, pag wala yung ibang function. So, action by the LBAA. So, the board shall decide the appeal within 120 days from the date of receipt of such appeal. The board, after a hearing, shall render its decision based on substantial evidence or such relevant evidence on record as a reasonable mind but accept. So yan, substantial evidence. Ang kailangan nila, no? So, take note of this, yan, yung substantial evidence. Okay, in the exercise of its appellate jurisdiction, the board shall have the power to summon witnesses, administer oaths, conduct ocular inspection, take depositions, yan, mga yan, function nila. Basahin nyo na lang. Ito, important dito, yan, the owner of the property or the person having legal interest therein or the assessor who is not satisfied with the decision of the board may within 30 days after the receipt of the decision appeal to the CBAA. So Central Board of Assessment Appeal. So ayan, after sa LBAA, hindi satisfied yung sa decision ng LBAA, no? Either of the parties, whether the assessor or the owner of the property, appeal sila, okay? Mag-appeal sila sa CBAA. Now, let's go. So, ano naman yung CBAA? Central Board of Assessment Appeals. So, yung CBAA, two chairman and two members to be appointed by the president. So, syempre, mas mataas na ito na appeal, no? So, who shall serve for a term of 7 years without reappointment? Of course, first appointed, the chairman shall hold office for 7 years. An appointment to any vacancy shall be only for the unexpired portion of the term of the predecessor. In no case shall any member be appointed or designated in a temporary or acting capacity. Qualifications: the chairman and the members of the board shall be Filipino citizens, at least 40 years old at the time of their appointment, member of the bar or CPA. Yan. Lawyer or CPA, at least 10 years. So, for the board shall have appellate jurisdiction over all assessment cases decided by the LBAA. So, yun yung importante dyan. So, sila yung next level ng appeal. Okay? Special levies on real property. Additional levy on real property for the Special Education Fund, no? So a province or city or municipality within the Metro Manila may levy and collect an annual tax of 1% on the assessed value of real property. So saan mapupunta yan? Sa mga special education fund. Oh. Pwede. May lang naman eh, not required. No? So, it may. So, idle lands tax, no? So, ito, importante ito sa mga, kung meron kayong mga lupa, no? Na hindi ginagamit, no? Or ano, walang use, no? Sabihan niyo yung parents niyo, meron tayong idle lands tax. So, make it as well productive yung lupa. So, ito, ano ba to? Additional ad valorem tax on idle lands, a province or city or municipality within the metropolitan so a province or city or municipality within metropolitan Manila area. By the way, class, hindi ibig sabihin nito na pang Metro Manila lang to. So ibig sabihin lang nito, diba, province or city yan, included yan yung outside Metro Manila. Tapos municipality, actually itong municipality na to within Metro Manila, ano lang yan, isa lang yan. Yan yung Pateros. Siya yung nag-iisang municipality sa Metro Manila. So the rest city na. Pero yun, kasama siya dito sa additional ad valorem tax. So may levy an annual tax on idle lands sa idle lands at the rate not exceeding 5% of the assessed value of the property, which shall be in addition to the basic real property tax. So ano ba yung point nitong idle lands tax? So ang purpose nito, sige, ito muna, basahin muna natin Yung section 237 deals with the idle lands coverage. For purposes of real property taxation, idle land shall include the following: yung agricultural land, more than 1 hectare in area, suitable for cultivation, dairying, inland fishery, and other agricultural uses, one half of which remain uncultivated or unimproved by the owner of the property or person having legal interest. Agricultural lands planted to permanent or perennial crops with at least 50 trees to a hectare shall not be considered idle lands. So lands actually used for grazing shall likewise not be considered idle lands. So ano ba yun ito? So yan, more than 1 hectare in area, intandaan nyo yan, suitable for cultivation. Yan yung pwede sana siyang i-cultivate, no? Pwedeng tamnan, pwedeng mag-put up ka doon ng yung poultry house, or pwedeng fish pond, yung mga ganun. So, kasi hindi mo ginamit, ay natenga yung lupa, 1/2 uncultivated or unimproved by the owner. Ayan, so, yan yung coverage ng idle lands tax natin. So, if I were you, kung meron kayong ganung klaseng lupa, no, tamnan nyo, at least kahit na fruit trees, yan, pwede. May exempt yan, no? At least 50 trees to hectare shall not be considered idle land. So, yan, tamnan nyo, or pwedeng mag-ano kayo doon ng, alam mo, mga kambing or mga baka, yung ipa-graze yun, ipatambay. And lands other than agricultural, located in city or municipality, more than 1,000 square meters in area, 1/2 of which remain unutilized or unimproved by the owner. So regardless of land area, applicable din to sa residential lots, no, duly approved by a proper authority. Provided, however, that individual lots of such subdivisions, the ownership of which has not been transferred to the buyer, shall be considered as part of the subdivision and shall be subject to the additional tax payable by the subdivision or subdivision owner or operator. So ano to parang pag hindi pa na-transfer yung ownership nung sa subdivision, so part pa rin siya dun sa may-ari ng subdivision, hindi pa dun sa individual owner. Okay, so idle lands tax, no? The purpose of which, no, is for the owner to cultivate the land para productive ang lupa natin. Okay? Exempt from idle lands tax, a province or city or municipality within metropolitan area may exempt idle lands from the additional levy by reason of force majeure, di ba? Mga calamities yan, mga civil disturbance, natural calamity. Yan. So, any cause or circumstances na hindi makabayad, na hindi magamit ni owner yung, or makultivate yung land. So, dito naman tayo sa special assessment. So, is special assessment a tax? No? That's a question to ponder, no? Pero tingnan natin, ano nga ba yung special assessment? So, special levy by local government units. A province or city or municipality may impose a special levy on the lands comprised with its territorial jurisdiction, specially benefited by public works or projects or improvements funded by the local government, provided that the special levy shall not exceed 60% of the actual cost of such project and improvements, including the cost of acquiring land and such other real property in connection therewith. Special levy shall not apply to lands exempt from basic real property tax and the remainder of the land portions of which have been donated to the local government. So, saan ba nag-apply ang special assessment? Special assessment, may improvement na ginawa ang government, particularly to sa yung mga public works, mga highways, na dahil doon, tumaas yung value ng lupa mo. Ay nangyari to sa amin, class, no? When there was a development in one of our farm, hindi din sa farm namin mismo yung development, pero essentially yung area namin is naapektuhan kasi nagkaroon ng highway. Yun. So, nagkaroon ng highway, tumaas yung value ng property. So, yan, pwede. Okay? Mag-impose ang local government. Is this a tax? Special assessment is not a tax. So, let's make that clear, no? It's not a tax, pero it has a fee. It's a fee on its own, and based on improvement of based on the public works that has a benefited that increase the value of your property, of your land. Special assessment collected for recovery of cost to the improvement. So ordinance imposing a special levy. A tax ordinance imposing a special levy shall describe with reasonable accuracy the nature, extent, and location of the public works projects or improvements to be undertaken. State the estimated cost thereof, specify the means and bounds by monument and lines, and the number of annual installments for the payment of the special levy, which in no case shall be less than 5 or more than 10 years. Sayin nyo na lang yung kasunod na paragraph doon. Publication of proposed ordinance imposing a special levy. Before the enactment of an ordinance imposing a special levy, the sanggunian concerned shall conduct a public hearing. Yan, so merong public hearing din to. Notify in writing the owners of the real property to be affected or the persons having legal interest therein, as to the date and place thereof, and afford the latter the opportunity to express their possession. So, kailangan din ng hearing dito sa ordinance imposing a special levy. So, fixing the amount of special levy, the special levy authorized herein shall be apportioned, computed, and assessed according to the assessed valuation of the lands affected as shown by the books of the assessors concerned. So, basahin nyo na lang din yan. Taxpayers' remedies against special levy, ito. Any owner of real property affected by a special levy or any person having a legal interest therein may, upon receipt of the written notice of assessment of the special levy, avail the remedies provided for in Chapter 3, Title 2 of this code. So mamaya i-discuss natin yung sa yung mga remedies na iba. Accrual of special levy. The special levy shall accrue on the first day of the quarter next following the effectivity of the ordinance imposing such levy. So, ang source ko dito sa local government code. And then, now, let's go on now to local taxation. Continuation pa rin. Collection, assessment of taxes, and taxpayers' remedies. Dito tayo. Collection of taxes. Okay, so section 165, tax period and manner of payment. Unless otherwise provided in this code, the tax period of all local taxes, fees, and charges shall be the calendar year. Such taxes, fees, and charges may be paid in quarterly installments. So, pwedeng ano, yan. So, accrual of tax. Accrue on the first day of January of each year. Okay? So, sa mga payment ng local taxes, kaya mapapansin niyo yung mga January maraming mga tao sa mga provincial hall or mga municipal hall, yan, city hall, yan. Sa treasurer's office, yung magbabayad kasi, collection ng kasi, tax yan. So, December, January, nasa period na yan. Time of payment, unless otherwise provided in this code, all local taxes and fees shall be paid within the first 20 days of January or of each subsequent quarter, as the case may be. The sanggunian concerned may, for a justifiable reason or cause, extend the time for payment of such tax fees or charges without surcharges or penalties, but only for a period of not exceeding 6 months. So, yeah. Within the first 20 days of January of each subsequent quarter pala. Of each subsequent quarter. Surcharges and penalties, yan, 25% of the amount of taxes, fees, or charges not paid on time, and an interest at the rate not exceeding 2% per month of the unpaid taxes. Fees or charges including surcharges until such amount is fully paid, but in no case shall the total 36 months. Collection of local revenue by treasurer. All local taxes shall be collected by the provincial, municipal, or barangay treasurer or their duly authorized deputies. And the provincial or city municipal treasurer may designate the barangay treasurer as deputy to collect local taxes, fees, or charges. In case a bond is required for the purpose, the provincial, city, or municipal government shall pay the premiums thereon in addition to the premiums of bond that may be required under this code. Civil remedies, ito tayo. Civil remedies for collection of revenues. Diba? Remedies for collection. So the civil remedies for the collection of local taxes, fees, or charges, and related surcharges and interest resulting from delinquency shall be ito by administrative action through distraint of goods, diba? Or levy. Pag levy, real property. Okay? Pag distraint, personal property. So, kasi kukolektahin na to no? Pag kolekta na, so, anong gagawin natin? And then, yeah. Yan yung administrative remedies natin, levy or distraint. And yung meron din tayong judicial action which it involves yung court. Either of these remedies or all may be pursued concurrently or simultaneously at the discretion of the local government concerned. So pwedeng, what's the difference, class, in NIRC versus dito sa local taxes natin. NIRC, sa ating national tax, UX hosts first the administrative remedies. Okay? Kung naalala nyo, before yung previous discussion natin, dapat administrative remedies bago ka mag-go sa judicial remedy. Pero dito, pwede. Okay? Pwedeng diretso ka na sa judicial, pwedeng sabay. Okay? Penalty for failure to issue and execute warrant. Who fails to issue, yung mga treasurer natin, who fails to issue, execute, or warrant of distraint or levy, ibig sabihin hindi nila na-enforce yung pag-distraint or pag-levy after the expiration of the time prescribed, tapos guilty sila of abusing the exercise thereof by competent authority, yung authority nila, will be automatically dismissed from the service after due notice and hearing. So may due notice and hearing pa rin. Collection of delinquent taxes, fees, charges. The local government unit concerned may enforce the collection of delinquent taxes, fees, or charges or other revenues by civil action in any court of competent jurisdiction. The civil action shall be filed by the local treasurer within the period prescribed in Section 194 of this code. Further distraint or levy, the remedies by distraint and levy may be repeated if necessary until the amount due, including all expenses, is collected. So, pwede kasi din yung pagdi-distraint. Alam mo ba, merong property, no? Tapos hindi sapat, hindi enough, no? For the payment of the tax. So, pwedeng another na naman na property yung i-distraint or i-levy until such time that the judgment will be satisfied or the amount of tax of payment will be satisfied. Okay, so now let's see. Sino ba yung exempt, no? Exempt from distraint or levy. O ano ba yung mga personal property natin? Exempt from distraint. Tapos meron din dapat dito, personal property lang. Kasi ang levy is for real property. Pero tingnan natin. So, tools and implements necessarily used by the delinquent taxpayer in his trade or employment. Yung sa trabaho niya. No, yung ginagamit niya for work. So, naturally, you cannot, the government cannot take that away. Kasi paano nga siya makakabayad kung, kung pati yun kukunin mo sa kanya, di ba? One horse, cow, carabao, or other beasts of burden such as the delinquent taxpayer may select and necessarily used by him in his ordinary occupation, his necessary clothing and that of all his family, household furniture and utensils necessary for housekeeping and used for that purpose. But the delinquent taxpayer, such as he may select of a value not exceeding 10,000 pesos, yan. Provisions including crops para sa sa individual family for 4 months. No, pera nila, allowance nila, hindi mo pwedeng kunin yon. The professional libraries of doctors, engineers, lawyers, and judges, yan. Hindi mo pwedeng kunin din, no? One fishing boat not exceeding 10,000, parang na to, masyado nang outdated yung price, no? 10,000, parang masyado maliit yan para sa boat. Ngayon, pero dahil matagal na kasi ito, so hindi pa to na-amend. Any material article forming part of a house or improvement of any real property. Ay, sana yun. Miscellaneous provisions. Procedure for approval and effectivity of tax ordinances and revenue measures by mandatory public hearing. So, kailangan kasi may mandatory public hearing, di ba? For the effectivity of the tax ordinance revenue measure. So, the procedure for approval of local tax ordinances and revenue measures shall be in accordance with the provision of this code, provided that public hearing shall be conducted for the purpose prior to the enactment thereof. So, any question of the constitutionality or legality of the ordinance may be raised on appeal within 30 days from the effectivity thereof. Saan natin i-raise yung appeal? Tandaan natin ito parate. It's like in our further discussion, di ba? Yung sa Secretary of Justice, who shall render a decision within 60 days from the date of the receipt of the appeal. Okay? The Secretary of Justice, tayo mag-appeal. O, iba yung sa real property tax sa kanina, yung diniscuss natin. Kanina, sa real property tax yon sa LBAA, di ba, yung appeal. Pero dito, yung mga ordinances, okay, on local taxes, okay, we appeal that to the Secretary of Justice. And provided, however, that such appeal shall not have the effect of suspending the effectivity of the ordinance and the accrual and payment of the tax. So, dapat ka pa rin magbayad ng tax. No? Provided finally that within 30 days of the receipt of the lapse or within the lapse of the 60 days period without the Secretary of Justice acting upon the appeal, the aggrieved party may file appropriate proceeding with a court of competent jurisdiction. So, pwede na yan sa RTC or sa MTC. Depende sa depende yan sa value ng tax na yan. Pero yan, usually sa RTC. No? Taxpayers' remedies. Period of assessment and collection. Local taxes shall be assessed, within 5 years from the date they became due. No action for the collection of such taxes, fees, or charges, whether administrative or judicial, shall be instituted after the expiration of such period, provided that taxes, fees, or charges which have accrued before the effectivity of this code may be assessed within a period of 3 years from the date became due. So, eto kasi, before the effectivity of this code, 3 years, no? Yun, 1991 pa to eh. So, tagal na yan, no? So, dito na tayo ngayon dito sa bago, yung 5 years. In case of fraud or intent to evade the payment of taxes, the same may be assessed within 10 years from the discovery of the fraud or intent to evade payment. Local taxes or charges may be collected within 5 years from the date of the assessment by administrative or judicial action. No action shall be instituted after the expiration of said period. So, pag nag-prescribe yan, hindi na pwedeng mag-assess ka. No? Hindi na pwedeng mag-assess yung government sa'yo. So, and provided, however, that yan, 3 years. Pinulit ko lang pala, no, nandun dun sa last na slide. The running of the periods of prescription provided in the preceding paragraph shall be suspended for the time during which the treasurer is legally prevented from making the assessment of the collection. The taxpayer request for re-investigation, kung nagkaroon na naman ng re-investigation, and executes a waiver in writing before expiration of the period within which to assess or collect. The taxpayer is out of the country or otherwise cannot be located. Taxpayers remedies pa rin, protest of assessment. When the local treasurer or his duly authorized representative finds that correct taxes, fees, or charges have not been paid, he shall issue a notice of assessment. Notice of assessment, di ba si local treasurer magbibigay ng notice of assessment kay taxpayer, stating yung nature ng tax fee, charge, yung deficiencies, or charge and interest, or may penalties pa. Within 60 days from the receipt of the notice, natanggap ngayon ni taxpayer yung notice, yung taxpayer may file a written protest within the local treasurer muna, contesting the assessment. Otherwise, the assessment shall become final and executory. The local treasurer shall decide the protest within 60 days from the time of its filing. If the local treasurer finds the protest to be wholly or partially meritorious, he shall issue a notice canceling wholly or partially the assessment. However, if the local treasurer finds the assessment to be wholly or partly correct, he shall deny the protest wholly or partly with notice to the taxpayer. So, the taxpayer shall have 30 days from the receipt of the denial of the protest or from the lapse of the 60-day period prescribed within which to appeal with the court of competent jurisdiction. Otherwise, the assessment becomes conclusive and unappealable. So, so from local taxpayer, have 30 days from the receipt of the denial, saan siya? To appeal na siya sa court of competent jurisdiction. So, either to RTC or MTC yan. Otherwise, assessment becomes conclusive. So, authorizes the Secretary of Justice to review only constitutionality or legality of the tax ordinance and, if warranted, to revoke it on either or both of the grounds, on these grounds. When he alters or modifies or sets aside a tax ordinance, he is not also permitted to substitute his own judgment for the judgment of the local government that enacted the measure. Claim for refund of tax credit. No case of proceeding shall be maintained in court until a written claim for refund or credit has been filed with the local treasurer. So, refund naman ito. Diba? Tapos na tayo kanina dun sa assessment, ito na, refund. So, you write a written claim for refund sa local treasurer. Meron na naman tong prescriptive period, 2 years. If naalala nyo, class, sa national tax natin, diba, 2 years din ang prescriptive period ng ating refund. So, the same sila. Dito sa local tax. Is the taxpayer required to pay before it can file a protest? Okay, is the taxpayer no? Payment first? The answer is no. Payment first before protest is applicable only with the real property taxation. Okay, so, parang ako mismo na shock ako dito sa nakalimutan ko na tong slides na to. Pero yan, so applicable lang siya. So, paid in protest. If the taxpayer paid the assessment while at the same time filed a protest, a receipt of paid in protest will be issued by the local treasurer. such fund will not go to the general fund, but the treasurer will hold it in trust. So that's it for the local taxation. Okay, so wait lang. That's, ano ba yung ano ng video na?